Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. Again, I am Liz Peterson, and today I am interviewing Daniela Sulek. And for those of you who are unaware of Daniela, a little bit about her to start off. So Daniela sees through the illusion of the rigid physical reality and ridicule of the human conditioning. She uses the fluidity of high consciousness to shift into a desired experience, thus constantly pushing the boundaries of logic and what is possible. Her thirst for truth naturally brought her on a journey of experiencing the self beyond the mind, body, and physical reality. She has brought a leading-edge concept of applied neurophysiology, energy medicine, quantum physics, metaphysics, and higher logic into her daily life, creating massive physical, mental, and emotional shifts for herself and her clients. Daniela is lauded by her clients and network of industry peers for her wisdom, passion, and joy. Daniela, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz.
I'm excited about this conversation. As I mentioned before, I had been looking over your website and listening to your interviews on YouTube, and I have started living my life, not from doing per se, but trying to get into a flow of life, a flow of creating and being. And I'm excited that you bring that into your work. But I want to actually wind the clock back to your process and how you got here to teaching this right now. Like, what was your journey, personal journey, to what you teach today?
Right. Very good question. So my personal journey, I think the most important thing to mention would be that, well, before I was just humaning, just like everyone else is. And I was in a mind and thinking and doing and constantly overthinking, strategizing and arranging, making sure that I have everything under control, whether it was business or work or personal life or kids schedule, my schedule, vacation planning, and clients. And then things started happening that showed me that actually I have no control. And those were kind of those were thoughts and emotions and physical pain, which didn't fit any human experience. It wasn't anything like I could point to, like, oh yeah, this is what I have. And I knew that it's beyond. I had no idea what it means until and why it's happening. But then I experienced some what you can call spiritual experiences. So out of body, astral travel, seeing myself laying on the bed while I was on a ceiling, being the consciousness and perceiving everything kind of outside of me, but I was it, and nothing was it. So being the awareness of what is. And over the time, all these experiences, and especially the thoughts and emotions and pain, which I couldn't control, led me to within, literally turning away from the reality, turning away from the person I knew I was, and turning away from the reality or the world. I believe that this is the world, and I went within, and things started shifting really fast, and my perception changed. So the mind, the active mind that created the person with the thoughts, with the emotions, with the pain, became quiet. And I shifted into the what I call high consciousness, but it's a state of awareness when you are aware of what is happening, but you are not it. You understand that you're beyond what is happening. And so now that's the message I'm sharing, and that's what I'm teaching my clients when working with my clients, is to literally shifting from the mind that creates the doing, and that creates the perception of doing. The mind doesn't create the doing, but the perception of doing, and the perception of that there is us, there is outside world, and we fit in, and we have to find a way how to navigate through life and we have some thoughts and emotions and some personality, and we are shifting. When the mind becomes passive, we see that there are thoughts, they are not our thoughts. There are emotions, they are not our emotions. There is a personality, but that's not us. And everything is happening naturally. We have no control over our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. Those happen naturally. So to go back to what you started with, like, oh, you would like to know more, you would like to get more into the flow of being and not doing. You're always being. You're always being, and the flow of life is always happening. You just, as other humans, have the mind is active, so it gives you an illusion of doing. Doesn't make a sense? So you don't need to shift into being or into flow of life. The flow of life is, but your perception is not, is different.
Ah, I see. So I want to dive into that a little bit more, but I want to actually talk about when you were in this astral travel, this astral projection state, and you were observing yourself from what is, which I'm sure gave you, this eye-opening experience, so to speak, like consciousness opening experience to be able to live life in a different way. So I want you to sort of describe your experience of observing from what is, from that objective observer, I'm going to assume, that you were viewing from, and what that experience was like and how that has transferred into your daily life and to your clients.
What I would say that that allowed me to see the truth, which the mind kind of blocked. So I was aware of my body, and I was fully aware of my thoughts, and I was fully aware of my emotions, but I was not my body. So my body was laying on the bed, but I was not that. And there was a space. It's so hard to describe to the logical mind. It's everything and nothing. There is everything at the same time, and you're it, and there is nothing. So nothing really exists. So those experiences, and there were a few more and different ones, like it was kind of like a building a puzzle for my logic, for my human, to really turn more and more away from the reality, which is just illusion, and within, and so the mind becomes still.
Okay, so when we're looking at the conditioned mind versus consciousness, take us through like how, because we're born in conscious state, right? And then we age and we're pretty much programmed by society, by our parents, by society, by school, by our experience. So can you talk a little bit about, having to come out of that conditioned mind into consciousness, and maybe like the difference between like consciousness versus conditioned mind, and how we can come out of that conditioned mind.
Okay. So I would take it from a different angle. What I would say is that consciousness is conditioned mind. There is no consciousness and conditioned mind. There is consciousness. There is nothing else. So consciousness creates within itself the conditioned mind. The moment you separate those, you are in the illusion of living as in a separation, that there is something that needs to be done, something that needs to be fight. So for example, the mind, the consciousness creates the mind. It creates it for the experience, because consciousness as all that is, cannot experience itself. It can experience itself only through separation, and hence the conditioned mind, and hence the reality. how I explain it for logic, to really understand what is happening, is a simple analogy of the dream. That when you dream, you have a dream and you are in the dream as a character, you're Liz, and you are there, and you don't know that you're dreaming. You're there, and whatever is happening, it feels real. And there are also other characters. So let's say you are having a disagreement with someone or trying to solve something, right? So there are other characters, and there is a setting. You're in a city or at home somewhere. You feel emotions and you think. You also think. You are that character in the dream. And it feels real until the point when you wake up. Because when you wake up, no matter what was happening in a dream, no matter how pressing the issue was, that, oh, I will miss my deadline, or I will, whatever, I will die if I don't do this. There is nowhere to go to fix it. It's not real. It never was. You were under the impression that it is real when you were dreaming. But when you fully wake up, you know that it's not real. And there is nowhere to go to finish that dream. That is the difference between the conditioned human or the conditioned mind, or the illusion the conditioned mind creates for us, the perception of reality, and us as a person in this lifetime that it's real. We all wake up fully when we die. That day, we become, well, like everything will disappear. I shift the perception before that day comes, because the conditioned mind with the illusion creates also a life of suffering, struggle, and anxiety, doing, a lot of doing, fear, challenges, disappointment. And but most important, it gives us an illusion that we need to do something to be taken care of. And that's an illusion. We only need to be. Nothing needs to be done. Just like in a dream, nothing needs to be done. All you need to do is to wake up. So that's kind of so the difference between the conditioned mind and consciousness is really that you become aware, the consciousness being it and creating the illusion, and then you no longer live the rat race or live in the fear. There are no fears, challenges, disappointments. You are aware of those, but you don't personalize them. They are not you, and they don't affect you. Does it make a sense? Because you have the perception of it being a dream.
Yes, I love that concept of that we are dreaming, and we are dreaming our life into being.
Yeah.
And that puts us in the creator state. And go ahead, you're going to say something.
That is your natural state. Actually, there is only one purpose why we have this dream, or why we have this physical experience. It's to go back to wake up, because while we are dreaming, again, it's a life of challenges and disappointments and a lot of doing and a lot of hard work, and we don't need to do that, because once we fully wake up, we create. That's the creation by being. We understand that nothing needs to be done. And when we are it, when we fully understand it, not by logic, not like, oh, Daniela told me, no, or I heard it. No, you are it. You know it. It's knowing. You know who you are. It's not affirmation. You know it. And that's where your reality shifts, because now you are in the state of your natural state, your powerful being. And the reality no longer is the illusion of, oh, hard work, but everything is happening naturally. You are always where you need to be. Things come to you. Literally, you manifest by thought. And it's not a surprise anymore. It's like, yeah, of course this is. Because again, it's the knowing of who you are.
I love that. It takes you into a state of life is happening for me, by me, through
me.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So to sum up, you are it. It never was nowhere else. There never was no one else, and there never was nothing else. You are it. You are the consciousness through everything is happening, and that everything makes it happen.
So for those listeners who are wanting to have this experience, what do you tell your clients, like how they can step into this consciousness shift?
So the mind cannot be, so really it's about I would say the removing the separation. So the conditioned mind, which is also consciousness, needs to go, but it really doesn't go. It gets together with the consciousness. Or I call it becomes passive. So what needs to be done is really just be and observe the one who is experiencing everything. Because it's the I that you refer to as I am, or I am Daniela. I am seeing, I am listening, I'm doing. It's the who, that is the first, that is the illusion, is the who is the doing, who's doing the doing, and who is doing the hearing, and who is doing the listening, for example. So what I would suggest is really, it's becoming quiet and observing your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. Every single minute, all the time.
Nice. So I want to reflect on that a little bit and kind of go into that space of like, what are we doing when we're sitting, when we're in peace, when we're thinking or meditating, and then shifting that awareness to, well, who is this that is thinking? The Liz, right?
Yeah.
And then going into that observer state, like, okay, that observer that is conscious, that's conscious, my consciousness living through me, talking through me, being through me.
Yeah. Seeing through me.
Seeing through me.
So, but then when you shift, you realize that you are it, that there was no, oh, there is a consciousness and there is me. There is this character, but you are not the character. You've been it all the time. But yeah, that's it's very simple. It's very simple, and yet it's the hardest thing to do for a person in life, because the mind creates the illusion that, and the fear and everything that brings up all the emotions that I need to do something, and there is more. I need to go to Tibet, and I need to meditate with the monks for half a year, or I need to, I don't know, clear my chakras. All those are illusions. And I want to point that out because a lot of my clients, a lot of people I work with are, I would say, are pro in a spiritual world. They've done chakra clearing, they're moon meditations, everything. And yet it's just another illusion the mind creates, because it's out there. The chakras are out there. The moon is out there. And remember, your body, your thoughts and your emotions, that is a part of the dream. So as long as there is something you need to do to get to that state, you're in the illusion. I need to heal myself. I need to go and discuss my childhood trauma with a coach. I need to meditate when there is a full moon or eclipse or blue moon, whatever it is. No, it's very simple. You just need to be.
How do you differentiate between like the manifestation of I am healed, right? And feeling it, seeing it, experiences it like I am healed, like the future already exists in me right now, what I want, right? And then spiritual bypassing of I don't need to do my inner work to get to X. I just already am if I grasp the concept that I am pure consciousness and everything is perfect and how it's supposed to be right now.
I would say being the awareness and observing and being aware, so observing your thoughts, observing the I that is seeing and doing and listening and hearing, is the most direct path. Because I'm not saying healing or chakras or other things, meditating, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It works. But you can meditate for 10 years and still, oh, I am not enlightened yet, because we are trying to get somewhere. Remember, the mind is separated and creates illusion of separation, and it's like, oh, I need to meditate more to get somewhere. No, that shift can be instant, or it can take a few sessions, but it's really about the mind becoming passive. And there is nothing you need to do. The mind, when the mind becomes passive, you know, and you see it clearly that there is nothing to do that you need to do to get healed, for example, or right? And the mind cannot become passive by healing, because again, the mind becomes passive by itself when you turn your awareness onto the one who uses the mind, for example. You can never ever fight the mind. You can never ever heal the mind. It's very tricky. It's very powerful. That's why, you know, people use the mind and they can create millions, or they can go depressed. It's very powerful. It just needs to kind of destroy itself by itself. And how you don't feed it, you become the awareness, and you become aware of the one who uses the mind.
And that's the journey, right? It's that profound, like, forgettingness that most of the world has been born with, right? And that deep desire and longing. And the reason why we get into these spiritual paths is to heal that feeling of separateness, right?
Yeah. Because we know deep down that this is an illusion and this is not true. We are just kind of bombarded with quote unquote reality, which is not reality, that tells us that, well, this is the truth and this is how you need to behave and this is who you need to are. And, you know, I had enhance every spiritual experience and every experience you have, and I'm sure you had, or the ones I had. They brought me more and more. They are bringing you more and more to the truth, you know. So no matter, and I would say people in spiritual realms, they get attached to these experiences. It's like, okay, I meditated and I saw myself as a light, or I felt this and this. You have to understand it's still on the level of mind, because any experience, remember, thoughts, emotions, imagination, your feelings, your body is created by the mind. You're not that. So it gives you a certain experience, but now the mind is giving you a different experience to get you to kind of start thinking like, hold on, what is this? My friends do not go through this. Well, what's happening? And that kind of cracks open the egg, you know, and more light and more wisdom, and more inquiry at your side will happen. Like, okay, I wanna go deeper. So this is something that was with me when I went through all those experiences, and this is how I operate. It was never about money. It was never about anything else. It was about truth. I just wanted to know the truth. I know this is not it. I knew that, and I didn't have any proof, and I still don't have any proof, and I don't need it now. But you pointed it out that it's not for everyone. Like the ones who have that urge, that longing, they will not let go. They will go to the final stage. It will happen for them that way or this way. but they will get to the truth. They will be the truth. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because the mind is so powerful. It's always proving to us our existence, or our experience, I should say. Like,
yes, yes, it is. And what I would say is, I mean, because, like, think about it. If it didn't prove our existence, if it didn't prove that the illusion is, well, not prove, but if it didn't make such a great case of showing you that the illusion is real, there will be no experience. Remember what I said, like the consciousness experiences itself through you, through the separation. So it needs to feel real. It needs to, and we forget, and we need to forget. I'll give you an like, take any movie, any emotional movie. I love the movie Titanic, you know, and the scene, like, think about, because that's a very emotional movie, you know, the Jack was his name, or so, you know, dying or whatever, and like, if when you go and watch the movie Titanic and you see the people drowning and lovers being separated and drowning, like, you cry, you have those emotions. In that moment, you don't think, oh yeah, that's not real. No, you literally, you know, you're literally just crying. And it's because Hollywood makes such a great thing out of it. It's just, it's spotless, it's bulletproof. That illusion, it gives you the illusion it's bulletproof. If at one point, even at millisecond throughout you're watching the movie, and now instead of the perception of it's being a deep ocean, an iceberg, and a shipwreck, you know, let's say they would show that there will be a flaw, and now there will be an image of pool, and that it's that the ship is a model, and you know, it's the people are not real, or the people are, you know, on the set. You would immediately, your state would immediately shift into, the emotions will begin, oh yeah, I'm watching a movie. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. That's see. And now imagine if Hollywood is able to do that with movies, how consciousness can create something extraordinary. And it creates such a great illusion that it's flawless. And you need to persevere, you need to have determination, and you need to know the truth. And you need to go all in. You need to, literally, when things were happening to me, I was like, okay, so I get crazy. I don't care. If I am supposed to be crazy, then be it. Because like, I couldn't explain it any other way. You need to be all in. Because if you have a sprinkle of fear, you cannot bust through the illusion. The mind is very powerful in keeping you there.
I like that example too, because it shows how physically, like, what we see, our body actually feels like it's actually experiencing it, like we're experiencing it ourselves. And scientists have actually used that technique, you know, in training athletes and stuff like that, that if they are actually like visually like experiencing what they are to do, the body actually like feels like it's happening to it.
Yeah, and again, back to the how the mind is very powerful, and it can heal you, or it can create disease. So cancer or any other disease, it's always created on the level of the mind. Any mental, emotional, or physical illness is created on the level of the mind. And this is it, because it just materialized. It's like it just materialized. The mind materializes itself. But absolutely, you can shift into a completely different state and physical reality with the mind. But as I said, if you drop the mind and if you stop working on the level of the mind, and with the mind, then you shift into your natural state, and there is nothing that you need to do. There is no more manifestation, for example. You don't need to manifest, you don't need to journal, you don't need to affirm. You're it. You know that everything is being done now, and there is nothing for you to do.
I want you to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit more detail for our listeners about, because you talk about we've been taught who we are, right? But then there's getting to our natural state. So talk to our listeners the way you would, your clients on, really how we get there, how we transform from, and come into that self-awareness.
So again, we've been conditioned or thought, but again, it's our journey. So basically we are doing it to ourselves, because there is no other. There is no one else. It's our own experience. We need to bring our awareness to literally ourselves. That's it. It's bringing awareness to ourselves, to our thoughts, to our emotions, to our actions, instead of pointing and being so entertained by the world and the outer reality. But I need to point out that you are a part of outer reality. You, meaning who you think you are, the person, but you are not the person. So, but you get to the truth through the awareness of the person. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. And then shifting into that higher consciousness, maybe like in a description of what consciousness is and how you guide your clients into that consciousness, into that super consciousness.
You cannot describe consciousness. Anything and you cannot describe awareness. You can't. It's the description comes from the mind. If you use any word to describe consciousness, you are false. So I don't tell clients or people who they are. I guide them to drop the mind, and then they know that the perception shift. It's really just as the dream, that your perception of who you are and what is happening around you is different when you are dreaming, and is different when you wake up, right? Yeah. So those are the two states of conditioned mind, conditioned human, conditioned person, and the state of awareness, or our natural state. It cannot be described. Those are really different experiences of life. And I cannot describe what I do with clients. I guide them, absolutely. I tell them and point out how the illusion is real in their life based on their life circumstances, whether it's illness, whether it's relationship problems, whether it's money problems, whatever they have, or whatever issue they have. But I guide them to really just be, and to bring the awareness of the one who is being aware. And then you need to be aware of the one who is aware all the time in your waking state, when you are working, swimming, walking your dog, cooking. Because in every moment you are either your mind is either active, and you are the conditioned person who has a perception of the world as the mind creates it, or you are the awareness, and you need to be aware of that.
Nice. And through that awareness, finding, as you say, peace and joy in living.
If you don't find peace and joy, because you never lost it, you always are peace and joy. But the active mind overwrites it with all the thoughts, emotions, and the perception of the person and the perception of the reality. Right? It's like you never need to fix the dream. You just need to wake up. And you realize you never was the dream. You never were the character in the dream. You were just dreaming. You were always the one who was dreaming.
I love that. So, say I'm living my life, I am finding myself in my patterns of daily living, my conditioning, my programs that I have to do X, Y, and Z, to get to where I need to go. How do I surrender and release this doing that I always find myself in, that I've been taught to do, and surrender to this way of being?
That is an excellent question, because that is, I would say, the hardest part, because we are being shown by the outside world, by the world, and by others that we need to do. And as much as spiritual gurus or coaches are telling us that, oh no, you don't need to do anything, it's scary not to do anything, because the moment you think about not doing anything, your mind, remember how powerful it is, will give you all the conditioning. But where will your money come from? Where will your clients come from? How will you pay for your mortgage? What will happen? Like all this stuff, right? That's where you need to be fearless. That's where you need to go all in. So to really, in practical terms, I would say schedule a time and just be. And watch yourself, what the mind gives you. So let's say it's Wednesday, 11 a.m. and you are just being. You will do, okay, I'm not going to do nothing for this hour, for 1 hour, or for 2 hours, or half a day, if you want to push yourself. And I'm just going to go for a walk, and I'll just see. I don't even know what I will be doing. And throughout that period, watch what will happen. You will get a tons of thoughts, and with that, your conditioned body will experience a tons of emotions related to that conditioning. That needs to be observed. So let's say you're sipping a tea, or you're walking your dog, and it's 11 a.m. and you're in the park, and the mind is like, but I shouldn't be walking the dog. I need to work. I need to be at my computer, probably writing a Facebook post, because if I don't write a Facebook post, no one will know about me. I will not have engagement. People will not engage. People will not know about me, right? Mm-hmm. Because we truly believe the mind really creates the illusion. Here's the thing, to really understand that cause and effect is an illusion. It's a part of the separation. There is no cause and effect. So in the human world, the conditioned human, I need to do A, and then B will happen. I need to write a Facebook post, and then people will read that post, and someone will respond, or someone will reach out to me. That's a conditioned mind. You don't need to do anything to be fully taken care of. You cannot for half a year show up on social media And if you are in that state of full awareness, if you're not living in that fearful condition, human world, people will find you. Why? Because everything is orchestrated. There is no cause and effect. Everything is done by consciousness, through you. Does it make sense? So to really answer your question, to sum up, I would say, take breaks, be silent, do nothing, or just chill. And it doesn't mean meditate. I don't want you to sit on the sofa for 24 hours. No, I want you to live. I want you to enjoy yourself. I want you to do what you love doing. And observe and notice what will come up. Because your mind will give you thoughts and your conditioned body will react to that, to those thoughts, to the point where you will be, oh, no, I need to do something. That's the trap.
All the time. I mean, we see this with shadow work when we're observing our behaviors in society, right? Where we're like, okay, I am reacting to this situation, this trigger, or this situation is triggering me, right? From this past conditioning. How do we use this concept to like get into shadow work and personal development and personal transformation? Like, is there a way to like take what you're doing right now and apply it to that inner inner work that we do?
Nothing needs to be done. You have to, again, remember everything is an illusion. Everything is part of the illusion. So your past and your conditioning is a part of the illusion. Your shadow work that needs to be done is a part of the illusion. You need to do something to get healed. Remember that. So what you observe is the mind gives you the thought of, I'm reacting, but who is it that is reacting? It's not you. It's the conditioned person. It's the conditioned mind is reacting to a trigger. And both the conditioned mind, the body who is reacting, and the trigger, which is something in the outside world, an event or a person, all of those are part of the illusion. And you become observer of those. And in that case, in that state, nothing needs to be done. There is no shadow work that needs to be done. You observe how the mind is giving you story about shadow work and that the shadow work needs to be done.
But in all reality, everything is happening for me. So just surrender to the flow of life. And
surrendering to the flow of life means accepting everything that comes. But people think that it's accepting everything that comes in terms of events. But the flow of life, you are part of the flow. So you have to accept and surrender also to your thoughts and to emotions and to the body. There is no coincidence. There is not coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. The fact that you're sitting on the right sofa today, right now, this minute, is not coincidence. When there is a trigger that triggers you and your body has certain reaction, that trigger is not coincidence. And that trigger is not there for you to, oh, okay, so I need to find a coach who will get me healed because I am being triggered by this and I have a certain conditioning. No, you surrender to the flow of life. So you surrender to this moment, always now and always here. So now you surrender and you observe the trigger, the person who is being triggered, and everything that the mind is giving you and telling you that you need to do in any moment. And you do it always, every single moment, because there is no past and future is a part of the time-space illusion the mind creates. The moment you need to go and heal something, that happened in the past, you're in the illusion. And you are the separate person. It's being the observer, being the awareness is your not only natural state, but it's your powerful state. Those are instant healings. Those are instant shifts. I don't work with clients more than 2 months. In 2 months, they shift completely. The mind becomes still. If I was doing a coaching, a life coaching, we could drag this for 20 years. Because that is happening on the level of the mind. We are living in the illusion. Well, I need to tell you, I need to hear your life story, and then I will, start shifting your beliefs. No, the mind with all the belief system becomes passive, becomes silent. When that happens, there is no belief system and there is nothing to heal. You're it. Does it make sense?
Yes. And as my dog barks in the background because she's not behaving.
That's okay. I don't hear her, so it's fine.
Good. That's fantastic. That's good to know. Gosh, where do I want to go with this? It's so complex, yet so simple at the same time.
It's very simple. If I may jump in, your
Please.
dog barks in the background and it completely threw you off.
Yes, 100%.
And you cannot concentrate because you're like, oh my gosh, how does it look like? My listeners will hear. And meanwhile, I didn't hear it. Then I heard one. But see, go right now, this minute, observe the conditioned human who has all those emotions about that trigger, because that's a trigger.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
That's an event. And remember what I said, nothing is a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. So the fact that she barks is for you and for us, for you to be completely thrown off and for us to have this discussion, for me to lead you there. So observe the conditioned human who wants it to be perfect. This recording needs to be perfect because then, remember cause and effect. If the recording is perfect, my listeners will love it. And then whatever will happen out of it, right?
Right.
No. And that's why she barks. So this is amazing for everyone because we think that to heal, quote unquote, again, you don't need to heal. But we think that we need to create something to get somewhere to the healed state or something. Every moment is orchestrated. The flow of life is happening by itself, whether you are aware of it or not. So now the flow of life, we talked about surrendering. You, Liz, are not surrendering now. Because if you surrendered, you would just let her bark. And you would be like, okay. So there will be bark in the recording. And I would tell you what, if you do that moment, she would stop.
Right. It's so fascinating. I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. And it is so fascinating how this is the first time that she has been so restless through this entire recording. It is so fascinating how I'm like having to bring myself back to focus on you repeatedly. Like I am literally having to do my own work through this entire conversation.
But this is all about
and what a gift, when we're discussing, surrender to just being and allowing what is, and that everything is a gift and that everything is happening, whether that be for me, like to me, about me, through me, all of it.
There are no accidents.
These seem the outcome, and there are no accidents.
There are no accidents. I always tell people, it doesn't matter what is going in your personal, professional, or in life. There are no accidents, and you need to be aware of it. So, and see how I told you, I cannot explain or describe awareness or the process. And we talk about surrendering, and it's so hard. Oh yeah, everyone talks about surrendering. Oh yeah, no, I surrendered. No, you didn't. This moment. And this moment she barked. And that on your part is to surrender. Doesn't mean, and I want to point that out because this is amazing for the listeners. It's like,
Yeah.
we are doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Surrender doesn't mean I will accept it that she barks and I don't like it, but no, surrender means you surrender to anything that comes. Meaning, I am aware that I'm being triggered. I am aware of the emotions. I am aware that I have a fear how this recording will be messed up, whatever. That's true surrendering to everything, your thoughts, your emotions, your body movements, to what is happening around you. Because all those which I just listed are part of the conditioned illusion. And you are none of it. But
Yeah,
you don't
and
know
so
it.
often we choose, on the other hand, to just work it constantly. I mean,
That's
that's
hard
part of
work.
my training, that I learned 30 years ago, was the constant working of the triggers, working on the shadow, working on that programming.
But
It's so fascinating that we're getting into a state now where things are shifting so much that it's just like a full surrendering. And I'm gonna say it like that divine feminine coming online is very much being in your intuition and being in that surrender and being in a flow and just allowing life to happen naturally in a natural
yeah,
flow.
but this is it. Yeah. And so in that moment when she barked, life happened naturally. But in that very moment, your conditioned person naturally had certain reactions. And that surrendering means just kind of like watching it like a movie, like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah.
And not judging her and not judging yourself for anything that goes within you. And that's how you live every moment. And then that's how the mind becomes passive, because now the mind is not fueled by your reactions of the conditioned person, by the doing. You're just simply being, observing, just being the awareness. And that shifts your reality completely. You can be peace and joy while your dog is barking in the middle of the podcast.
And there is
But you cannot,
to surrender to, okay, she's in there, she had a moment, through this podcast. It's great. It was a great teaching moment, a great feeling moment, a great experiencing moment for me.
It is. And because everything just is consciousness or awareness, there is no past and future. So everything just is. And if everything just is in this moment, then you are not your memory and you are not your belief system, because memory is past, hence the mind. Belief system is past, hence the mind. So if everything happens now and you are now, there is nothing to compare it to. Think about it. This example, she barked. If you were awareness and not the mind, there is no memory or belief system this moment to compare to. So for example, to a perfect podcast where your dog is quiet. Does it make a sense?
Yeah.
But because you are the conditioned person with the mind, all those stories about this should not be happening, it should be this way, this is wrong, right, wrong, this way, that way. No, it's a flow. Everything just is. Everything just is. And you don't judge anything. And you are in complete peace all the time, because you don't judge anything and anyone, but most of all, you don't judge yourself for anything, for what you say, for what you do. You don't need to be right. You don't need to defend yourself. You just are. You're in your powerful state and you're peace and joy all the time.
I love that, because it's true. Without our conditioning and what we've been trained to believe, there is no judgment of an experience without that.
Yes, you need the mind with its past illusion to create the comparison. Right?
Right. in their minds always saying, okay, should be this way, this should be that way, this should be this way, this should be that way, this shouldn't be
Exactly.
right, constantly
Exactly.
based on our previous experiences. Like we definitely live our life through the lens of our past experiences and how things should and shouldn't be.
And that's our dream,
100%.
and that's the illusion. It's
Yeah.
completely false. We miss out on the true reality with the capital R. Yeah. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I share my message.
It's awesome, Daniela. Thank you for experiencing this hour with me. I really appreciated your content, and even my lab mix Casey's contribution to the show today. That was so interesting and fascinating how life happens that way for us, right?
Nothing is an accident.
Thing is an accident.
It happened because it needed to happen, and it needed to happen for you, and also it happened for your listeners because it was a great example of the theory we were discussing before.
Awesome. Daniela, share with our audience how they can get a hold of you, how they can work with you.
The best way is, if anyone is interested to go on my website, which is danielasulek.com, and they can read my blog, and they can connect with me through the website.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Daniela. This has been a pleasure to host you and, listen to your work and share you with my audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And thank you everyone for listening. Again, I'm Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and online at Raise the Vibe with Liz and raisethevibewithliz.com. Thank you everyone. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.